what have we got so far? We have a main function. But we have a main function that reuses our create app context. And we figured out kind of what we need to do, like what configuration and what like stuff we need for the program. And then let's take a look at this. So let's get rid of this enum. I don't think I'm going to need that there. So I think what I said 30 minutes ago was I wanted to kind of take a top-down approach here for implementing this, right? So we have this upload video function. It has this context, which is like all the stuff it needs to know, and handles for like talking to the outside world. And we have a record ID. And there's a record ID. Let's do this. Let's see. I will. Am I a freelancer? I have a full-time employer right now. I was a freelancer for a good number of years. Back before I kind of became more of a just a FTE. That was something where someone reached out to me from a startup, and I was like, "Hey, do you want to come onto this team?" And it's sort of like a contract gig, like a lot of things back then. And then I became like engineering hire number one for the startup. Startup ended, as so many do, wound down, and I ended up, I got kind of used to having the stability, and so I became a FTE at my current employer. And it should go without saying, but none of the stuff I'm doing here has anything to do with my current employer. Let's just say that. Okay, so anyway, so we have like I think the flow here is going to make sense, where we're gonna get an episode, which is a something. Presumably this is going to be our episode type that we're going to retrieve from DynamoDB. We're going to download the video file. So I think one thing I can do here is I can be like, hey, this is an episode, which we should be able to import from our types. Although I probably have to say, hey, we're using GT types, or I think it's just called types. There we go. Actually, it's more 9-to-5 job because stability, yes. Something like that. Yeah, and of course it's complaining because the functions don't exist. But can we import that? And then what is a video file? What is the video file in this context? Is it just a path? Maybe. So like I said, this is a bit of a rewrite. I did have a version of like func code to upload to the YouTube/Google APIs. And so I've copied some of that back into the project from going back into the history. So thinking about like, how are we doing this? Okay, this part doesn't actually have the thing that I'm looking for. Let's go back over to here. So somewhere in here, we're actually grabbing a file, right? So we get a path, and then we're using the path to get metadata, and then we are somewhere in here, we are actually reading the file and sending it. Upload URL, get location, and then we call upload, and we pass a path. Okay, that upload function. Take a path, and hey, thanks for the follow.
Please _help_me_0 just followed.
Welcome in. We're getting up there in followers, 290. I think the current goal is 300, just because it's nice to have a goal. We're almost there. So what are we doing? So we're passing a path to upload enter, which is implemented over here. And part of the reason I wanted to kind of like take this top down is because I do want to reuse some of this code, but I don't want to use it as is. I don't know that I'm really happy with how it was structured. So we're gonna figure out what we're doing. Okay, so in upload enter, we use Tokyo FS file open. And so whatever file is here, maybe we'll figure out what this function does. So that reads that. Do we use path anywhere else in this function, or are we just using file at that point? So we're getting file size from the caller, so we don't have to. We're not trying to get the file size from file. Okay, and so we're calling request body and passing the file, and that's kind of what that's doing. So let's see. Let's Google this really quick. What is Tokyo FS file open? Okay, so we have a struct called file, and we have an open method, and it's a result of okay, so it's a file. It's embedded inside of a result, which is to say this struct. So we're passing around this struct. So there is metadata. Where's metadata about the underlying file? So metadata is a struct. Actually, YouTube algorithm works a certain way, so those views can instantly try to make YouTube shorts. Yes. Yeah. That is also kind of the direction that I do want to go. Like, I don't want this to, like, first and foremost, the thing that I have been doing, and some people apparently like, because I have more subs on YouTube than I have followers on Twitch, despite, all I do is I throw my VODs over on YouTube. But that is a thing that I want to keep up doing, but then I want to do more. At one point earlier on, especially for like the gaming content, I was doing shorts. A lot of those were just like clips from Twitch turned into shorts. I did a couple of like edited things, which those can be real-time syncs. Like, I did one where I took like a 3-hour stream and I condensed out like what was accomplished in this stream where I was playing a mod pack, Minecraft mod pack, into like a 30-second short or something. And that was a lot of labor and not something I could keep doing. But yeah, automating that would be really cool. And I think we can potentially get there with this tooling, just with a lot of refinements. But what I'm chasing down right now is I want to know if what I want to pass around, like in the code here, when I say download video file, do I want this to return that Tokyo FS file struct? And can we just use that from this point? And so to do that, I need to know that this metadata that I'm going to get access to is going to tell me the size of the file. Is that len? Yeah, there we go. Bytes. Size of the file in bytes, this metadata is 4. Permissions, modified, access, we don't care about any of those things. I think size was really the only thing that I cared about. The file type is interesting. How does it determine the file type? Hold on, what does this do? Ooh. I can just run it? Yeah, there's no such file directory, of course. Of course there's no file. Okay, so not agree. If there was a foo.txt, would it return txt? Would it return text plain? What does it do? Maybe we can look at the source. I'm just curious. Self.0.file type. Okay, well, cool. doesn't really tell me what it does. What is a file type? Is it an MIME type? Is it a file extension? What does it mean? Okay, moving on. I don't really need that. Okay. Well, anyways, I think maybe this can be a Tokyo FS. Sorry, 2: FS file, right? And then upload to YouTube. This is going to be interesting. And I think what we're gonna do here is, instead of doing this, we're gonna use match, and we're going to do something where we do we're gonna use the struct, the enum that I've defined up here, upload status. So this should be. It ate my space. Okay, so upload status, success, video ID. Upload status, temporary failure, needs to do something, but not that. Temporary failure. Oh, actually, yeah, something like that. I'm not. You haven't worked with Rust before? It's. I mean, there's. I would say it is. It's a nice language. It is something that there are things that I wish that would exist in TypeScript, and there are things that don't need to exist in TypeScript or JavaScript, like the borrow checking stuff and those sorts of things. But like the match, the chain that you can do with the result type. There's lots of nice things here. So basically what I'm trying to do, though, is I'm saying, hey, call this function. Actually, yeah, let me break this down. So there's eventually going to be a function. I have not defined it yet. There'll be a function called upload to YouTube. It's going to take the application context and this video file. And what I'm saying is send a reference to the video file. I'm going to give the video file to upload to YouTube. And then upload to YouTube is going to be an asynchronous function. So it's going to be something where it's, I mean, the short answer is that when I define upload to YouTube, I'm going to define it just like I'm calling this one, async fn, upload to YouTube is how I'll define it. And so because I do that, let's avoid talking about like how async stuff works, because I said this early in the stream, I'm not a Rust expert either. This is something where, you know, I'm only using Rust on this project. It's not something I use at my day job. So the totality of my experience on Rust in the last, let's say, 5 years has been what has been seen on stream, right? So it's just a couple hours a week. And so there's a lot I don't know, and there's not a lot that I mean, there's not a lot that I feel like I can speak expertly, like as an expert, about. But what I can say is we call await, that gets us whatever upload to YouTube returns. The question mark means that it implies anyway that the upload to YouTube asynchronous operation is going to give back a result type. And so one of the nice things I like, so TypeScript has enums. You probably shouldn't use them, is the short of it. But in Rust, you can do really cool things with enums where you can not only define like, oh, here's an enum and it's either success or temporary failure or permanent failure, but you can do things like, actually, this enum success, if the thing uploads, if the value for upload status is a success, it has a video ID. If it's a temporary failure, it has a start byte, it really should be like a resume byte, but whatever, and a wait time, or it's just a permanent failure. So you can stuff data into this thing. So it's like, this would be the equivalent in TypeScript. If you're familiar with TypeScript, please help me. of doing like defining an interface and then doing a union between success interface and temporary failure and a permanent failure. It could be a type instead of interface, but whatever. You union those types together. So this is what we're doing here. We're saying upload status can be either success and it has a video ID. So in TypeScript, what you would need to do is you would probably want to have a field called like status, and each of these things would have a status that indicates what type it is, right? It's a success or temporary failure or permanent failure. You don't have to do that. It's all in one thing here. And so that means that, what does it mean? So anyway, the question mark here, there is a type, a built-in type called result. Like here is a result type, and it can either be, let's say, okay or error, right? And those okay or error, it's a generic type, right? So the okay, like for this result, the okay side of it is like this empty unit type. So there's nothing in it. It's empty. We just want to say, we want to send a signal that things are okay. The error type, I'm not going to explain what a box is or what any of this stuff does, but it has some kind of error inside of it. Some kind of abstract error. So when I do this question mark, what I can say is, hey, Rust, when you evaluate this, the thing that you're going to get back from this await is going to be a result. And it's either going to be okay or it's going to be an error. If it's an error, go ahead and ignore everything else and return from this scope that error, right? And so that will result in this function returning an error. So basically, I mean, the async stuff is about it being concurrent, but it's about having to write less code. Without the question mark, what you would have to do is you'd have to say, let me store the result of calling this function and the await, right? We're just ignoring the await stuff. Let me store this result, and then if it's an error, just return from the parent function, bail out. If it's not an error, take what's inside of the okay and have that, right? So yes. So then it's interesting because like this one line of code has like 3 or 4 different things you have to know about Rust to understand. So what I'm doing here, this match syntax, allows me to take the value, so everything before the curly brace, and then do something different. So this is like think of like a switch statement, except this does pattern matching. So this can look at the type of this value and do a different thing based on does it match the pattern. So this is a pattern for my enum, for my success, right? And this allows me to say within this block, do something where I can have the video ID that was in that enum, right? So if the upload to YouTube was successful, I'll have a video ID, and then I can do a thing. In this case, I want to update the episode record, and I want to store the video ID. How do I know context ID works? Have you? Do I know context works? Have you used here? I'm not sure. I think that's a question. I'm not sure what the question is, though. Correlation ID. Where is there a correlation ID? So the ID here is the video ID that we're unpacking from the success. Now, we've not implemented upload to YouTube yet, so we're just saying that how we want it to work is that if the upload was successful, we'll have a video ID back. Have you keep track of any failure? Oh, right. So if something fails, how do you know where it came from, right? So like if we get down here and we've not implemented the permanent failure branch, let's do that. The numbers are redundant. Let's remove that. This made more sense when there were fewer branches. So, if this fails, is the project monolithic or microservice based? I would say more towards the microservices end. So, but it's not too nested, right? So I don't think the previous version of this was a little bit more nested, where service 1 would call service 2 to do a thing, and potentially call service 3, right? So there was a chain of things. Less so here. I will have to look at that in a second. But now I do most of the coordination between these different Lambda functions or other Dockerized applications are being done through AWS Step Functions, which is like a low or no code kind of orchestration system, which means it calls a thing, looks at data, decides what to call next. Either fairly microservices, whether that's a Lambda function or a ECS based job through AWS Batch, or if it's directly calling DynamoDB. So this isn't something where you would necessarily be in a situation where so application tracing in general, where I think you're the correlation ID question of well, service A calls service B, calls service C. If something fails in service C, and that error comes back to B, and then back to A, and then back to the user, when you get, logging, how do you correlate all the things, what failed where, right? Generally in AWS, I would be using X-Ray to do application tracing. I haven't really touched on that a lot here because we're not that deep, right? So this is step functions orchestrate a lot of the logic, or it's API gateway calls a Lambda, so it's not too many steps down. But there is still some value in being able to look at application traces. It's just not something I've implemented yet. So is it ISTIO? I'm guessing this extends Kubernetes to establish programmable application-aware network. Yeah. I don't know that this would make sense to use for me right now because I don't have running services. If you were in a situation where you had a bunch of web applications that you were running, and then you wanted to have a mesh where things talk to other things, but that's not really what I'm doing here. A lot of the code, especially the longer running code. So first of all, I don't have a server. I don't have any code that I'm running that runs continuously. The longest thing are things that are running on EC2 spot instances, or using Fargate, which is AWS's serverless compute, where you can give it hey, run this container with these arguments, but none of this stuff is running for more than an hour because they're background jobs off of a job queue. The things that are need to be continuously available are being done through Lambda. And so at the end of the day, Lambda is just containerization, but it's one in which the individual compute units are spun up on demand. And because all of my Lambda stuff is implemented in Rust, and it's super lightweight, the cold start time for Lambdas are milliseconds. So yeah, if I were to stop like the cost in what I'm doing is like just running through the videos, like that compute, but like ongoing cost is storage. That's my biggest cost right now. I have tens of terabytes of video from just like the year coming up on 2 years. Well, I guess it's been a year and a half since I actually did local recording and actually properly archived stuff. So I have about a year and a half of everything I've ever streamed in S3, and that's costing you money. Another tool, if you want, can look for. You said pants. Is it? I don't know. I'm not gonna search for pants. Pants. What is it related to? Pants tool? That seems like a bad thing to search for. All right. Anyway, okay. So let's see. What are we trying to do here? Maybe we can make a little bit more progress. So if it's a success, we want to do some kind of episode record update. Oh, it's a build tool. Okay. Pants build tool. Pants build. Okay. A build system. It's so bright. Oh, hold on. Yay, it's slightly less bright. Although the blue is still pretty bright. Python, Go, Java, Scala, Kotlin, Shell, and Docker. I mean, why? How? What? I don't know. Developer workflow system? Basically, my build process right now is all I build a Docker image. And that's kind of where things are at. I don't know. Okay, I will I'll keep this on my list of things. I will check that out. Alright, so now the question I have is, one, is this logic that Copilot generated for me going to do the right thing for this temporary failure case? One. Two, you can see, like, we call update episode record with retry after, update episode record. Do I want to create separate functions to do this? Or do I not? Also, there is another issue here. So there's definitely an issue here where upload video, context record ID, await. Docker that's hosted in Docker Hub. I am pushing my Docker images to AWS's Elastic Container service repository, ECR, yeah, repository. Because that's where they need to be used for Lambda or for batch. I was thinking at some point of I might, like, all of my stuff is in GitHub, so I might push images, like the build images, to GitHub because there is a way to like automatically mirror into ECR. But I don't know that I would use Docker Hub. Like the Docker images are really not useful in enough, probably not useful in enough by themselves, for like as a thing someone could pick up and use for whatever. They're not really intended for that. They're really intended to be deployed as part of the infrastructure of the whole application. There are things where, like, there are some things that are built separate from that. So like the front end components and the types that I generate. So I do have two NPM packages that I publish on npm.js for the Glowing Telegram types and Glowing Telegram video editor component. Those are like freestanding things. Although the types one is actually inside of the Glowing Telegram repo, the video editor one it has its own separate GitHub repo and build process. And I'll probably go further down that path of like splitting out reusable components. Also, on the Rust side of things, I probably at some point will want to start publishing crates for some things. Like, I'm not doing that now, but there are some things that probably will make sense to be like, here's a thing you could, if you're writing a Rust program, you might want to use this, maybe. So some stuff I could do there. Right now, I just want things to work. So the issue here is that if we just call upload video, well, what happens if, wait, what is upload video? Oh, it's ourselves. We're recurring. I see. Right. Do I want to recur? That doesn't really make sense. Yeah, you're welcome. Like, this doesn't make sense. I need to think about how I want to do this, right? Because, how do I want to do this? It's a good way of doing this. Oh, yes, hydrate. Well, I have been, but I will have some more. Cool, thank you. So the question is, how do I want to flow? Like, I probably want a loop here. I think I might want a loop here. Yeah. So something where we do this. We do loop. Okay, and then I'm gonna say let start byte equals 0. Yeah. And then I think we can alias this new start byte. Did I take a note that I wanted to save? I think I do. I do want to have like a upload resume at byte. There we go. So the way the upload API for YouTube works is that you can, when you're uploading, you can give it a byte range of what you're trying to upload. So we could definitely, and the past version of this did, do that. But if we're going to do that, we have to save that in our episode record, which means that also needs to be in the type. Like that. How long this project gets complete is there yet? Right. I mean, is anything ever really complete? I've not done any kind of yeah, exactly. How long will it take? I don't know. There is definitely a point where I want to put a pause on working on it. Yeah, let's frame it this way. So let's think about it this way, right? So I want to get the program to the point where, and like what I'm working on right now is the key point of the key thing I want to do to get to that point of being able to do the thing where I am taking my Twitch streams and I am taking like hour chunks of the stream and I'm putting them onto YouTube, and I don't have to manually like download or upload files. I don't have to open a video editor. Like everything is through the web app. I can click buttons. I might have to go to YouTube to like actually click the thing to make it published, or to add the cards the like end tiles on the end of the video, where it's like, because that's apparently not a thing you can do through the API. That sort of thing, but like very minimal kind of intervention. And I do at some point, so that's the milestone, right? I've reached versions of that milestone. The previous version of the milestone before we started the rewrite was I can generate the timelines of like how to cut the stream video into segments as a file I could import into DaVinci Resolve, and I can do the rendering there. And I did that for a long time, but I want to eliminate DaVinci Resolve from the kind of this workflow. So that'll be like, that's the next milestone, which means I need to get this working. And then after that, like future milestones are like making more edited content, right? Whether that's YouTube Shorts or like longer form videos, but that are distilled down from the stream, potentially either taking a whole stream and distilling it down into like a shorter video, or actually taking like content from multiple streams and putting it into a video, or putting it into a series of videos, right? Kind of that many to many kind of thing. As far as, is there a similar project out there? I didn't search too hard, but it's not something that I've heard. You know, I've not heard anyone talking about that, and I've been talking about this project, and people have come through the stream, and I've talked to other streamers and other people doing coding and not. So I don't know that there is a project trying to do the things that I'm trying to do. But I haven't done like, so one, this is not a startup, this is not a business. So this is something where, you know, I've not done like market research or anything, but as far as I know, there's not really anything really similar out there to this. Did I generated types, right? Just a second ago? I'll just do it. It's fine. But yeah, we want to store, upload, resume at bytes. Maybe it was a better idea. Some people get help from it. Yeah, maybe. I mean, it's all open source. And more, it's free software, right? It's HEPL 3. All of the parts of it are. And that means one, yeah, someone else that wants to use parts of it or all of it, or wants to contribute, that's all out there for them. And then that also means that a company can't come along and like take the software and build a service out of it and then not contribute back anything they add to it. Which is the difference between, in my understanding, not a lawyer, my understanding of the difference between like the HEPL and the GPL is, right, it's that I think back in the day it used to be called TiVoization, like taking free software and making a service out of it, and then like you're not distributing it, right? You're making a service, so you don't have to distribute. You're not distributing it, so you don't have to contribute changes back as open source or free software. So no to that. But anyway, maybe more coding. So I think the idea here is that we're going to set start byte to 0. My upload to YouTube is going to take that start byte, yeah, as an argument. Yeah. And then if the amount of time we want to wait because of the error is less than max retry wait time, which we haven't set yet, maybe that should be configuration. Ooh, yeah, maybe. Maybe this should be the max seconds, and we're gonna change this. This is gonna be context.config.max retry seconds times 1000. Cool to do. I need your help. Sorry to ask. I mean, it is in your name. What could I possibly help you with? Okay, max retry seconds will be coming from our configuration. which will be like an environment variable. How do you resolve a merge conflict? Carefully. That is something that is, at least for now, something I don't have to deal with too much on this project because I'm the only one working on it. But yeah. Yeah, basically. So hopefully, like, if it's something where you can look at, like if you're looking at a merge conflict like in GitHub, you can look at kind of the default way it will show is that you'll have the angle brackets going one way, and then you'll have some lines of code, and then equals, and then other code, and then square bracket or angle brackets going the other way, right? That's what that looks like if you're trying to do a merge. Really, the short answer is you need to look at the code as it was, and who's changing what and why, and what do you want it to look like, right? So if things are, if it's straightforward enough, the merge conflict may be like one person added a line, another person added a line. You want both of the lines. So what you do is you take out the arrows, the angle brackets and the equal signs, and you just have both lines from like before and after. You add them both, right? Maybe those lines are incompatible or they're doing the same thing in slightly different ways, and you pick one. I mean, a general question gets general advice, right? Which is like, what do you want the result to be? Like, if there's a merge conflict, it's because multiple people, or maybe the same person at different times, change the same thing in different ways. And MoodyBot Lurkage, this is I think Moody Abigail's bot, has come by to say hi and lurk. All right, thanks for that. But yeah, I mean, in general, you got to look at what are the people trying to do, and what is the sum of their efforts combined. That is ultimately what a merge is, right? So there's not going to be a formulaic answer in the general case. That's why it's hard. If it was just like, oh well, there's just an algorithm for solving it, we wouldn't be doing it. We would have automated it. And that's the power of like version control, is that most of the like, oh, these lines change here and these lines change here, and there's no overlap, it can just be merged automatically. That's solved, right? Because there is a general way of solving that, until there isn't, until there's like some kind of conflict. So I think, more specifically on a project, looking at what the merge conflict is, I would be able to say, I probably would have questions of like, what were the source commits that resulted in the merge? What were people trying to do? Why is it this way? What is the objective of both pieces of work that came into conflict, and what do we want to have as a result of that work being merged together? And sometimes the answer is no. Like, one, maybe by looking at the merge conflict, you realize actually neither of these things are the thing that you want. And the answer is to the merge conflict is no, you're not going to resolve the merge conflict. You're going to revert the changes and you can do something else. Maybe something that will structure things in a way where there won't be a merge conflict, because there won't be multiple people trying to edit the same thing. So there we go. That's a lot of generic advice. Okay, so what was he doing? Right, so we are getting context config max retry seconds. If the amount of time that we're being asked to wait is less than the max retry seconds, we're going to update start byte, which means that this variable start byte needs to be mutable. Well, you're very welcome. I'm glad. If you're saying thank you, maybe that's the words that I said are helpful, which is what I'm aiming for. Okay, so we're updating start byte to use this new start byte, and then we're going to continue. Right, to go back to the top of the loop, and that's going to do our retry. Yes, cool. If the wait time is not less than the max retry seconds times one, we're missing things. There we go, 1,000. So we're converting seconds to milliseconds. If it's not less than that, then we're gonna give up for now, and we're gonna like eject ourselves out of this program by updating record with retry after. And then we're going to excuse me. Yes. So if we get to the bottom of the loop, we break. We break out of the loop. Except I guess that's still inside of the match. So this is where the break should be. Oops. Copilot had it for a second. There we go. Okay. So I'm gonna save that and see what else it's gonna yell at me about. Oh. Okay. Redundant. Yes, this is redundant because if this is true, we continue. So what we can do is we can just say that. Okay. And of course, we have a lot of errors because we haven't actually implemented these functions yet. So, and we also haven't imported upload status from YouTube. Okay. So this leaves me needing to implement. Oh, interesting. Episode video S3 key. So that's not right. This should be. We're just gonna pass the episode, right? Because we need a bunch of things from the episode. So we're just gonna pass the episode to download video file, and that's gonna give us back a Tokyo FS file. Is this? Oh, right. So if we have a wait time, we should wait. Yes. Okay. This is the key thing here, right? Is that because we don't want to wait for like hours, because this is like compute that's running. If the wait time is too long, we're just gonna bail out. We're gonna save the status to the record, and then we're going to give up. But if it's not too long, we can just wait a little bit and retry, and that's good because a retry in the execution of this program means we don't have to download from S3 and again, because that takes time, right? And that takes network resources and all that stuff, right? So if we can do it within the lifetime of the running of this program, and again, the scope of this program is just uploading a single video to YouTube from S3. So I think at this level, this is what we want to do, right? Is that we're going to get an episode record from DynamoDB, and that's the information we need to do it. We're going to get a video file from S3 based on the contents of the episode. We are going to attempt to upload to YouTube. If it's successful, we'll get a video ID and we can update the record. Do we need to pass the episode record to that function, or is the ID sufficient? I think the ID is sufficient. Right, we already know the record ID is the ID of the record that we used to get the episode, so we can just use that. So the downside of like doing this top-down, kind of like, how do I want to structure things, and then I'll implement the things. And well, I've already shown a little bit of that. Is like, what is the right type that I need to pass around to handle like upload to YouTube from here? And then I have to think about like, well, what does this function actually need to do? What is going to be a good type that's going to let this function that gets the video file do with it? So you have to kind of like peek downwards a little bit. Otherwise, you're going to be like, oh, so a way of solving that is to be like, I'm not going to use any external types. I'm going to define my own types for representing things. And then I'll go back and expand those and make those be composed of the inner things in some way once we get into the implementation of the functions. And so I didn't undermining what I just said, but you know, there's few absolute rules. Now, do I... The question I still have is, do I want to make these separate functions? And I think I will, because they will store different things in DynamoDB. So let's see here. Let's implement a function. Let's start implementing things. All right. So, oh, hey, look, Copilot wrote it for me. Do we believe this is accurate? Context, app context, record ID returns either an episode or a boxed error. Get item input. So we build the kind of request to get a record. At least that key doesn't look right. It's really weird. Unwrap or default is also weird. Like, the type signature is something I do want. I'm pretty sure. I don't think I want to do things exactly this way. I think I have examples of getting things from DynamoDB. Because so DynamoDB is kind of the main storage for data, and so the CRUD API, the thing that the Lambda function that is behind an API gateway that the front end calls to get stuff from the database, does a bunch of stuff there. So we can go look at how have we previously gotten a record from DynamoDB. So we call client, get item, ask for the table name, something like that, and then we do this, and this is fun. Like, 3 months ago I wrote this, and I already see things that I would do differently now. Isn't that great? Okay, so label. Okay, so this should be context dot config. Oops. Config dot episode table name, right? And then we don't need to have a configurable like partition key here. We know that the ID, the partition key of the table is ID, I believe. Let's go double check that. Hey, look, it's ID. It's the partition key for the episodes table. All right. And then AWS SDK DynamoDB types attribute value S, record ID to string. Okay. Client isn't defined because we need to use our context dot Dynamo client. There we go. Now, what I want to do instead of all of this, I think, is we're going to use that question mark dot item or option, or can we do that? Let record. What is the type of this? What's a hash map? Can we yeah, convert HM to JSON. Is that gonna work? I don't think that's gonna work. Well, yeah, sorry, DynamoDB. Am I using this somewhere else? Copilot keeps suggesting it. No. No. Okay, so let's do... Am I exporting? Oh, no, I define that here. What does that do? Do I want to move this into a crate somewhere so I can reuse it? Probably. So in a nutshell, right, we are getting back a hash map, right? So a map between the string key of each field in the record to the attribute value type. And the attribute value type is this thing in DynamoDB that like encodes the type of the value and then the value. And we need to turn that into an episode. Really what I should do, like I have the ability in the types crate. Utils. What I should do is I should make a thing that allows me to convert, do some kind of conversion logic to go from the DynamoDB record into the episode record. That would be really convenient, right? To do something like impl from hashmap string attribute value. Yeah, not for cut list though. That would be convenient, but for episode. What are you complaining about? Oh yeah, we haven't implemented. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, and then it's complaining. And I wouldn't actually want to implement this like this anyway. Like this is using unwrap and all of that. But I think, despite the fact that, you know, in this stream I have not yet implemented uploading to YouTube, I have the code to do that. I really just need to figure out how I want to structure things. And that has been the thing that we've been solving today. But it has been long enough that I'm getting hungry. So what we're going to do is we're going to go find a retarget and we're going to kick off a raid.